Hello there, it's Kim Fitzpatrick here, and I'm so excited to be able to talk to you today about follow-ups. And this is absolutely a crucial thing in your business because really it is the magic that happens in the follow-up. And that's where your business will start to blossom in your consistency in your follow-ups, the power in your follow-ups, as well as the belief in your follow-ups. So I want to jump in really quickly and get this training started. So the first thing I always say to a lot of our new coaches or any new coaches when you're starting out and you're trying to determine how am I gonna base my business? How am I gonna follow it up? You need to determine your plan. So what is your plan for your follow-ups? Are you a pen and paper person? Are you a highlighter and sticky notes person? Do you prefer a filing system? Do you prefer an electronic system? Do you prefer to do by months, by days, by mornings or afternoons? You really have to develop what is going to be your system for your follow-ups and how you're going to track that. For me, I'm really a pen and a paper girl, but I also like my streak, which I do through my Gmail, and it's attached to my email. So it makes, for me, my ease of my follow-ups in a cohesive, systematic process. Now, I want to share with you, I did not get streak until about 2.5 years into my business. I really used my notebooks, I used my papers, I used my highlighter method, and I used my good old pen and paper tracking. At the end of the day, and I'm going to say this again, you really need to make sure that this is your business and this is your foundation to your business. So you have to do what's going to best serve you and the way in which you create this. I wanted to talk about as well, the different forms of communication I use is Facebook Messenger. It is our Facebook business page and our Facebook business page messenger. I use Instagram as a medium to communicate. I use Instagram stories, and I use my Instagram direct message. I also used email as a way to connect with people and to follow up. So at the end of the day though, guys, you have to do what works for you. And maybe when you're first starting as a new coach, you think, holy mackerel, that's a lot of platforms. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it all? And I want to share this with you. You really do have to do what you're comfortable with. But you also have to do things that you're uncomfortable with, because this is the magic of that business, is getting out of your comfort zone. So there's a lot of training, there's a lot of different ways on how to learn the different platforms, but again, the magic's going to happen in the follow-ups of what happens on Facebook from your posts, what happens on your lives and the engagement you're giving. It's going to happen on the Instagram stories and the invites that you give. It's going to happen in all these different ways. So there's many different avenues and vehicles in order to do your follow-ups. And I want to get started and drill down on each separate section on how I do it. So on Facebook, I really believe that every communication or every like and every comment is a way for you. It's an open invitation for you to follow up. It's someone saying, I like your stuff. I support you. I agree with that. Tell me more. And it's a way for you, an open invitation to connect. And for me, that's your first follow-up. So when somebody comments on something I do or posts something, I always make sure that in the message or in the comments below my posts, I'm always engaging. I have a rule of thumb. You can never out-comment me. So even if my last comment is an emoji, it's an engagement. It's a connection point. It's a creating a relationship with that person, which is going to foster and create an organic and authentic connection, which will facilitate your follow-up. So it's really important to understand that everything you do in this business is absolutely interconnected. All right? So let's dive into that. So when I have a Facebook message and I've been following up with someone, typically what I like to do is I, again, will have their name written down, but I also use my Messenger Facebook as my documentation system. You can see when you have an unread message or if you haven't responded last. And on Facebook, typically what happens is when I engage with someone and I'm inviting them to either a free group that I'm doing, or I'm inviting them to the Live 4 program or a program that's coming up, or a free challenge or a challenge group, I always make sure when I do my follow-up that I have a point of connection first. So before I dive into any conversation where I'm inviting someone or I'm following up on them, I start with an introduction of, first of all, how are you, their name, and how I do that is I go to their page first and I do a mini audit. So I actually have a pulse on what have they been up to. Because often when you get those messages of, hey, have you ever thought about, when you get those messages and you might have gotten them, have you ever thought about doing this business? Because I think you'd be great. Well, clearly that person didn't go to your post before or your page and see that you are obviously partnered with a company, and it's disingenuous. So I want to ensure that in my teaching that you really hit on this point, that you have to make a connection point before you follow up. Otherwise, it's a bit like word vomit, right? Or it's about data dumping. And it isn't about data dumping. Again, this business, and Beachbody's incredible at that, is built on fostering relationships. And when you foster relationships, you develop human connections. So when I invite somebody to anything, it's typically a pulse check on how they're doing. So maybe they followed up on a meal idea that I've posted and they're really struggling in their nutrition. And what I'll do is I'll say, hey, I've got a free group coming up that's all based on nutrition. Would you be interested in joining me in that? So that's an example of a follow-up that isn't salesy. You're not trying to get them to buy something from you right off the bat. You're offering value in a free, safe space that gives them the opportunity to say yes. And that gives you the opportunity for them to go in your, maybe it's a 3-day clean eating group, basic group, or maybe it's a 5-day crock pot group, whatever you want to do. Maybe it's a lunch redefined group, whatever you want to do. You're giving them an opportunity for them to see you as a business owner, as a professional, and as someone that has value add. Once I have people completed through that free group, I will follow up with them. And the first thing I do is, hey, I saw that you were really engaged on those dinner ideas. Did you try one? What did you try? Did your kids like it? So I'm making a connection with her outside of, I'm going to sell you something. And that's instrumental in your follow-up process to make sure that you aren't going for points. You're going for people. You're going for human connection. Because a lot of times in this business, when we're following up, sometimes, guys, it's at the end of the month and you're in a rat race to try to hit what your goals are. I would encourage you to start that way before the end of the month. So for me, I start on day 1 of each month. Who do I get to follow up with this month? Who was in my free group last month? Who was in on Facebook saying, I would love to be in your 2B Mindset interest group, or I would love to know more about 80-Day Obsession? Who actually didn't follow through on purchasing anything? Those are the people that I follow up with too. So sometimes you have to remember, all the time, you have to remember that you aren't just looking to follow up with new potential customers and new potential clients that are outside of maybe in your warm market. Those would be your friends, your family, people that you're connected with on Facebook, but also your outside market. But I'd love you to consider and remind yourself all those names you wrote down, all those conversations you had before that said no, not yet, just weren't ready. And you need to make sure that you're acknowledging at some point in your notebook, I've got these great sticky tabs that cue me who I'm following back up with each month that I haven't touched base with. Again, it comes down to your system, and your follow-up system is absolutely crucial to your success. I would say that when you follow up with someone, give them a day or so to respond before you're following back up with them right away. Again, people live busy lives. And a lot of times people are not going to be on social media as much as Beachbody coaches are. So give yourself some grace and give yourself a reminder that just because someone hasn't seen your message doesn't mean they aren't interested. It means they're living a life and they're busy and they're full. But what you can do is you can go and you can support and give them love on their Facebook page or on their Instagram page. Or if you see them in the schoolyard, I saw one of the moms last night at cheer who I sent an email to. I didn't even mention it to her. I just said, so great to see you. I gave her a big hug because I knew that she was going to follow back up on that once she saw me, and I didn't need to push her or talk on it. So that's an important thing with Facebook. I want to talk about, now I want to pull outside of Facebook and actually give one more tip, if I may. When you're leaving a follow-up on Facebook and someone says no, if someone says no to you, or on Instagram, make sure that you leave them with value. So, no, I'm not interested right now, but you know that they're struggling with their nutrition, or you know that they're struggling with being able to afford this program. So send them the free Lift 4 workout, or send them a great sample of a meal idea from the Beachbody blog. There are so many resources for you that you have at your fingertips to utilize in your follow-ups so that you are leaving someone with great value. And that's our job, because what's going to happen when they are ready to purchase, or they are ready to commit to Shaun T in the new year, they're going to say, I trust her. She believes in me, and she isn't just out this for the sale. And I'm going to go with her. So again, as you're following up, you're building your credibility. You're building your competence in the belief of them, you as your coach, the access to the resources you have. And that's really important in your follow-up, so that it isn't just a data dump, but it's a connection piece. It's a, let me give you this example. Let me share this with you here. And it's a fluid example. The other thing I really, really like to do with my follow-ups is not just do written communication, but also doing a voice note. I love to let them to hear the emotion in my voice. I like them, that would be on Facebook, that will be on Instagram, in my direct messenger. I love for them to hear that and feel the excitement I have. Because sometimes you have to remember that the way words are interpreted are not the way that voice words are interpreted. So be sure to infuse your voice and practice. Practice inviting people. Practice sharing what you love about coaching. Practice what you share about loving coaching opportunity. And you need to remember that you're always kind of on display. Everything that you post is an example of the value that you're going to bring. So that's really, really important. I wanted to talk now about Instagram polls. I love my Instagram stories. I love my Instagram polls. I believe that a lot of our business has actually been built through Instagram stories and our polls. And I wanted to share with you something that's really important. So when I'm going through my polls, the first thing I do is I determine a follow factor. First of all, I determine, who is this person that's been watching my stories? A, are they a fellow coach? Because if they are, I'm not going to follow up with them because I don't have that time. B, is that someone that I actually like? Is that someone that I maybe want to have on my team, or that I would want to support as a client, or even someone that I want to go out for dinner with? You know, you need to remember that you're just as much in the driver's seat in this business as other people that are looking to partner with you. It's a mutual agreement of a partnership. And that's what this business is all about. So when you're responding to your polls or you're responding to your stories and you're following up with someone, again, you got to remember, if they're watching your stories and you've been watching them watch your stories for a few days, reach out to them. But first thing I would do is I would go to their page and determine that follow factor, that connection factor. What are the things that you have in common that you can talk to in order to build and start to foster that relationship? So for example, yesterday I connected with this one girl who was incredible. I couldn't tell whether or not she was working for a network marketing company. I could tell that she absolutely loved fashion. I could tell that she absolutely loved wellness. I could tell that she absolutely loved food, all things I love. And the first thing I said to her was, oh my gosh, I could look at your page all day. It's incredible. I love this. I loved how you showed this. And I gave concrete examples of what I loved. And then I said to her, I don't typically do this, but I wanted to share with you, if you are not monetizing your brand and the way that you pull who you are out, I would love to talk to you about this incredible business opportunity I have. But I'm sure you also get approached with that all the time by a lot of different people. So excited to chat with you further anyways. And that, first of all, she responded back to me and she said, oh my gosh, thank you. I'm so humbled. And I haven't ever been approached. What are you talking about? So sometimes just connecting as a human first before you pounce is super, super important. And that's a key thing. So when you're following up, I want to give you kind of a synopsis. First of all, have your tracking system. Make sure that you have a system of how are you keeping track of who you're following up with. Do you have a yellow highlighter for people that have purchased and then you ensure that they're in your groups? Do you have a pink highlighter, for example, of the people that have said no, not yet, but reach back out to me next month? Do you have a blue highlighter for people that said stone cold no? What value did you leave them with as they said no to you? And then remember, the follow-ups can also be not just in direct messenger, but your follow-ups can be from your likes and your comments and you creating a community with them. Remember that you always have an opportunity to follow up and leave someone better than when they found them. And that's your responsibility as a Beachbody coach. Follow-ups are not just data dumps. Follow-ups are real connections with excellent value where you're educating someone on what you know, what you have, and these incredible tools that this company has provided to us to help everybody change their life.